The Craftsman T210 1 year later, 2 actual full cutting seasons last summer and this summer. This video is going to talk about how it's held up. Do I still like it? Have I had any issues? And I'm also going to cover some rumors, because this is one more that has a lot of wrong information being spread about it. I've seen it in other reviews, and I've even had people argue with me about it in comments on my previous video. So I'm going to kick off with that, because I've written down about a dozen of those, and I'm going to start with the number one thing, the most continual thing I see, and that's about this being an MTD and not a Craftsman. And that gets a yes and a no. Yes, it is made by MTD for Craftsman, but that's something Craftsman's been doing all along, having other people make the products branded for them to their specs. But that does have a little extra value now that Stanley Black & Decker owns Craftsman, because guess who also owns a large chunk of MTD? Stanley Black & Decker. So in theory, a Craftsman branded MTD product could get more bang per buck than maybe some of the other brands, which leads into number two. And that argument is that because it's an MTD, it's no different than a Cub Cadet XT1, its sister equivalent. People call it identical. Well, by definition, that's not true, because colors alone make it not identical, but let's play that game for a second. Let's look at the transmission. Both are hydrostatic, but for the T210, there's a higher torque rating. The Cub Cadet's turn radius is 16 inches. This Craftsman T210 gets what's called tight turn, a 5-inch turn radius. And there are countless small differences. The metal hood versus plastic, standard bulbs versus LED, a different seat, slightly different dash controls, lots of little small things. So not identical. Similar, but not identical. Rumor number three, that it's not made in the USA. It's made with global parts, but if you're going to rule it out on that basis, then you'd have to rule out every Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, etc. Number four, that there's no cruise control on the T210. Not true, it has the exact same one as the XT1. 5, that the choke/throttle lever is plastic and it'll break within a month. Well, it is plastic, but it's given me no problems. Another component that it said won't make it a month is the battery. Now, the mower has a 3-year warranty. The battery only a year, but a lot of people say it dies right away. Well, most of these batteries, they come not at a full state of charge, so it's important to float charge them before you use them and to continually do so in between gaps in usage. I added a charge connector and it helps. It's still going strong. Lucky number 7, or unlucky 7 as many people would tell it, the spindles are junk. If junk means 50 hours of usage with no issues, then okay. The reality is that I've had no spindle problems whatsoever, and they're still running quiet. No signs of failure. I do use the washboard after every mow, so maybe keeping them clean versus not might skew that, but for me, they're still working perfectly. Number 8, that the 42-inch decks no longer have rear anti-scalp wheels, which this one, it's actually true. Pre-2020, there were 4 anti-scalp wheels, 2 front, 2 rear. 2020 and beyond, only 2. And those 2 are both up front. Number 9 is that the hood hinge mounts are plastic. Well, yes they are, and so what? Plastic hinges on a metal frame to me is much better than metal hinges that can bend on a frame and can't be replaced. Number 10, a big rumor that there is no mow in reverse, and how people can own this mower. I've seen reviews where people own this mower and say that they can't mow in reverse. There is a switch and a button for that, right on the ignition switch. There's even a sticker on the mower when it's new and a hang tag on the key itself that shows how to mow in reverse. 11, the belts are junk and they're not supposed to last 10 hours. Well, I'm going on 50 and still perfect. No noise, no slipping. Number 12, another one that's really puzzling to me, because I've seen a video where someone was comparing their new T-Series Craftsman to their old LT Craftsman, and they said that they wished it had an easy release hood. It does. The T210 has the same tilt and lift, easy to remove hood, making full engine access a breeze, or if you ever needed to get to those hood hinge mounts to replace them, which you won't unless you run into something. And finally on my list, people say the engine is junk, this thing won't last 1 season, and that it's made in China. Well, as has been a fairly consistent theme here, wrong and wrong. It's running like a top for me, and this is a good spot to start with what I really like about the T210. I like the design of this power plant, the yellow colors to indicate the service points, and that vertical oil filter. And this is a new design with a quiet run technology that really does make a difference. This has given me all the power I need. I've never had it bog, and I expect hundreds and hundreds of reliable hours out of it. Ergonomics, another high point of this mower. I liked them when I first bought it. Nothing has changed there. The comfortable seat, all the controls easily within reach. The cup holder perfectly placed, and that seat, it's adjustable by an easy slide just like you were in a car. And after years of the old snapper where I had to bend down to engage the blade, it's so easy now. The blade engagement and the cut height all right here. And everything on the dash easy to see, and this hydrostatic's as good as it gets, at least at this price. If I had any complaints about any of the controls, it would be the cruise control. It's low center, less than ideal, but still accessible. I have added one thing to the mower that I think makes it even better. Those yellow service points. I expanded on the yellow theme with yellow grease fittings on all the Zerks. Continuity. Over a year in and almost 50 hours and zero problems. Everything that I liked at the start is still holding strong. And it's aging well, and it was the cosmetics that helped this win me over because you need to be happy with what you own, and I like the look of this mower. Sporty by lawn equipment standards. Also, don't forget, this is a metal hood. In an era of plastic, this has a metal hood, a metal body, and that 42-inch metal deck that's holding up perfectly well. Now, my mower does have all the odds stacked in its favor because it's kept as spotless as possible, with about 30 minutes of cleaning after each mow, and that includes using some compressed air and religious use of the washport to keep the underside of the deck clean. The top of the deck washed to hand scrub to get any grass buildup off so that wet grass doesn't cause any premature rusting. Pampered, yes, but that doesn't mean it isn't tough. An example, recently I ran the front tire into a pole. While I was looking back at a spreader I had hooked up, I thought for sure it would tilt the tire. Not a difference in steering alignment. It's also worth note that the few plastic body panels are good thick plastic, sandwiched between metal on the top and bottom. I've talked about my cleaning routine, but I also want to mention these hydrostatic transmissions. To keep their longevity, the cooling fan needs to be kept clean. I could go into more detail and talk about everything I like about the T210, but then we'd be here all night. But this gives you an idea that this mower has done well so far, with enough runtime under its belt, pun intended, that any major shortcomings would have shown up by now. Well, hold it right there, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows, because I can find areas where it isn't 100% perfect. Like the dust that comes from the left side of the deck, in dry conditions, especially on right turns, it can get dusty. Though I've discovered that if I raise the deck a setting or two, the dust goes down considerably. Don't know why, but it works. And this isn't the mower itself, but the accessory mulching plug is an absolute joke. I'll talk about that more later this fall. Most any other gripes are very nitpicky. Like this little bin, it looks like a bin, but it's really not. It's just a grab handle area. If you put a phone there, it will come out. There's also that other storage bin right next to the cup holder that looks like it too would hold a phone, but it doesn't hold a modern phone. And the gas tank's quick view window, kind of hard to see because the gas tank's so thick, which I guess is good. I also want to talk about this rust spot, because not only is this on every 42-inch T210 that I've seen, I started inspecting other 42-inch MTD decks and noticed that Toro, Cub Cadet, Craftsman, they all have this rust spot. I'm guessing that maybe this is a hook mark from where they hang the decks to dry or something, but MTD, Craftsman, I really wish you would look at this because you don't want to pre-introduce rust. And those few things, you can see there's not very much nitpicking, and that's a good thing and shows that I like this mower even more after over a year of use. Serviced regularly, and I'm ardent about following the instruction service schedule. I've had no problems. I change the blades twice a year from standard to mulch, and I'll be swapping back to the mulching blades here in a few weeks. Even the headlight bulbs work after all this time, and these are always on when the mower's running, and the start's smoke-free and easy. And I expect this level of performance to continue for years to come, but I'll let you know if anything changes. Tell me what you think. Are you impressed with the T210 as impressed as I am, and were you a naysayer? Or did the mower and this video prove that the naysayers and the negatives are wrong and that this really is as good as I believe it is? Comment below with your opinions. Thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching.